In the middle of a dense forest, hidden among tall trees and thick bushes, lay an abandoned summer camp. Once filled with joy and laughter, it had been empty for many years. The cabins and playground stood as creepy reminders of a forgotten time, their decaying structures casting long shadows on the forest floor. A group of adventurous teenagers, led by Emma and Jake, found the camp during a summer hike. Curiosity got the better of them, and despite their better judgment, they ventured inside. The silence was unsettling, with only their footsteps echoing off the old buildings, creating an eerie soundtrack to their exploration. Inside, they found old photos scattered on dusty floors showing kids smiling from long ago. Some photos had names and dates on the back, hinting at a happier time. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, and these symbols seemed to glow with a dark energy as the sun set. The more they looked, the more they noticed oddities: dolls with missing eyes, camp uniforms hanging on hooks, and a strange, musty smell that clung to the air. Night fell, bringing heavy darkness that cast moving shadows. The air became thick and silent, except for the rustling leaves and creaking cabins. Emma, both curious and scared, walked to the camp's broken playground. Swings moved gently as if pushed by an invisible force, and faint laughter filled the air, giving her chills. She felt like someone was watching her, but every time she turned around, there was nothing but shadows. Jake found an old journal in one of the cabins, its pages yellowed with age. The journal belonged to a camp counselor named Sarah, who wrote about strange occurrences and the disappearance of several children. The last entry was hastily scribbled, mentioning something lurking in the forest and warning future visitors to stay away. Suddenly, a cold mist surrounded the group, freezing them to their bones. Shadows formed into ghostly shapes, whispering strange words that terrified them. Emma thought she saw a figure standing at the edge of the forest, but when she blinked, it was gone. The whispers grew louder, and the group realized they had to leave immediately. In fear, Emma and Jake led their friends in a frantic run toward the camp's entrance. The ground seemed to move under their feet, with roots grabbing at them like twisted hands. They stumbled, but kept running, driven by fear. As they reached the gate, Emma glanced back and saw glowing eyes staring at them from the darkness. Out of breath, they finally escaped the camp, collapsing just outside its boundaries. As they rested, Emma noticed an old plaque hidden under ivy. It told the camp's dark story, a place where children had disappeared without a trace, their spirits still haunting the woods. She read aloud, and the more she read, the colder the air seemed to become. The plaque ended with a chilling note: they never left. Years later, Emma returned to the forest, haunted by memories of that night. The camp had been destroyed, as if to hide its dark secrets. Yet, as she stood among the trees, she felt a presence watching her, a whisper in the wind, a flicker in the shadows, reminding her that some horrors never truly fade away. She could hear the faint sound of children laughing, and for a moment, she thought she saw a figure standing among the trees, watching her. Emma left the forest, vowing never to return, but the memories of that night continued to haunt her, a constant reminder of the darkness that still lingered in the abandoned summer camp. It was a hot summer afternoon when Isabella and her friends decided to escape the heat by visiting a hidden lake deep in the woods. The hike was long and tiring, but they knew it would be worth it. As they reached the calm waters just as the sun began to set, the beauty of the place took their breath away. Excited, they set up their tents along the shore, laughing and enjoying the peace of the place. The trees around the lake seemed to whisper secrets, and the water looked so inviting. They quickly changed into their swimsuits and splashed into the cool water, feeling the day's heat melt away. As dusk settled in, they gathered around a campfire, sharing ghost stories to make their stay more thrilling. The fire crackled and popped, casting spooky shadows that danced around them. Each story seemed scarier than the last, and their laughter turned to nervous giggles. As the night grew darker, Isabella noticed a figure standing at the edge of the lake, partly hidden in the shadows. She squinted, trying to see who it was, but the darkness made it hard. Curiosity turned to unease as they realized the figure was staring at them, unmoving and silent. "Do you see that?" Isabella whispered to her friends, pointing towards the figure. They all turned to look, and a chill ran down their spines. "Who's there?" called out Mark, the bravest among them. There was no answer. The figure just stood there, watching. Unease turned to fear when they started hearing whispers echoing across the water, voices that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. The whispers were soft at first, barely audible, but they grew louder and more insistent. Shadows danced on the trees, though there was no wind to move them. "Let's just ignore it," suggested Lisa, trying to sound brave. "It's probably just someone trying to scare us." But the whispers continued, and the figure remained. In a mix of bravery and foolishness, Mark decided to investigate the figure by the lake. "I'm going to check it out," he said, grabbing a flashlight. "Stay here." He walked carefully toward the figure, shining his flashlight. "Hello? Is someone there?" he called out. Just as he reached the water's edge, the figure seemed to melt into the shadows, and Mark vanished without a trace, leaving only ripples on the surface. Panic gripped the group as they realized Mark was gone. "We need to find him," Isabella cried, but Lisa held her back. "No, it's too dangerous. We have to leave now." They packed their things quickly, their minds racing with terror. As they hurried away from the lake, they could hear faint cries for help coming from the water, chilling their hearts. "Help me! Please!" The voice sounded like Mark's, but strange and far away. Exhausted and terrified, they finally reached the main trail in safety. They didn't stop running until they were back in the parking lot. As they told their scary story to park rangers, they learned that the lake had a dark history of disappearances dating back centuries. "People have been vanishing here for as long as anyone can remember," one ranger said. "Most folks think it's just an old legend, but..." No one believed their story of the mysterious figure and haunting whispers, dismissing it as hysteria. "You kids probably just scared yourselves," another ranger said, but Isabella knew what she saw that night, and the memory would haunt her forever. Years later, Isabella would sometimes wake up in the middle of the night, hearing those same whispers. She never went back to the lake, but the fears stayed with her, a constant reminder of the night Mark disappeared, and whenever she heard about another disappearance at the haunted lake, she would shiver, knowing that the dark secrets of the water were still claiming their victims.